should there be an attempt to create a disclosure protocol? Because some people are asking, such a high profile case, so many man hours lost of the court, so much media attention, and suddenly we are back to square one. Should there be a disclosure protocol?
There is already a disclosure protocol, there is a disclosure rule. And that is why Mr. Justice Raveendran, on the very first day when he sat on that bench, he told us that he has the shares. Now,
That's right, yes.
that's a matter
Correct.
which does amount to, in a sense, a disqualification.
Correct.
Though according to me, that also is a rule overused.
Yeah.
4, 5, 10 shares, 100 shares, what does it matter at all? Doesn't matter. And I think the best thing is for the judge to dispose them off one day before. But that rule he observed immediately. So you can't find fault with him at all.
So there is no need for a greater disclosure protocol?
No. On the contrary, there's not only that rule, but there's a rule that even after a judge decides a case, decides a review petition against his decision, but if it comes to be known that he had this kind of an interest, then there lies another petition thereafter. They have permitted it by judicial decision, that then you can challenge that decision, even the dismissal of the review petition you can challenge on the ground that the judge had this interest which he did not disclose.
That's right. For people who want to know, such a high profile case, 6 days have been lost, whose fault is it? Is there an answer to that question, Mr. Jethmalani, or is it a flawed question in itself?
No, but I frankly don't follow your question. The case has been lost twice, first before the single judge, partly
Correct.
before the division bench,
Correct.
A little more fully, and now they are the appellants in that court. So the question is, what will be the decision of the Supreme Court?
Right. No, basically what I was trying to ask, sir, is the 6-day delay that has been caused by this particular disclosure clause, and now we've gone back to square one. Whose fault? Is it a valid question to ask whose fault is it?
No, not at all. It's nobody's fault. The judges, I think, were conscious that it might be misused. Right. And that is why they were a little perturbed about the possible consequence.
Correct. You were attending that big seminar that happened a couple of days ago, in fact a week ago, on the widespread legal reforms that the law ministry wants to bring about. What is the merit for an argument that there has to be widespread legal reform in India now, so that the people's faith in some senses on the justice system is revived?
I don't think the need is for a legal reform.
Okay.
The need is for using the present law intelligently and wisely.
Correct.
But law's delays are mainly due to the fact that you don't have sufficient number of judges.
Correct.
The law commissions have said that we require 5 times the number of judges than we have at the moment. Why hasn't the government done something about it?
Absolutely.
So that's what I told them. I said, you are barking up the wrong tree. Even in the 1/5 number of judges which we have at the moment, they have vacancies. So who is responsible for this?
Absolutely.
So that's why I spoke at that meeting, and I was very critical about it.
Absolutely.
And the second cause of delay is that there is so much of congestion of work in 1 or 2 or 3, 4 lawyers, and they don't have the decency to return briefs. And they go on taking adjournments, and the judges go on granting them. The tradition of the bar is that a counsel must return the brief if he has a reasonable apprehension that he won't be able to appear.
That's right. I wanted to also ask you, essentially, the law minister, right after the big seminar on legal reform, told me, as it so happened in an interview, that the big questions asked about corporate houses and their big cases hogging limelight for a long time, that there should be separate courts to deal with rich cases, as it were. Is there any merit to that idea?
Not at all. It's a stupid suggestion. You'll occupy one judge by calling him a makes sense.
So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to
And
separate
all
such
these-
cases
all
from.
these measures are half-hearted measures, fast-track courts and special courts and nothing. They ultimately you require the number of judges. Now, if you keep a judge busy with one kind of work, all right, he will dispose that off. But to that extent, you have enhanced arrears in other areas.
That's right. The other big question that you're addressing in your public life is the question of corruption, and especially the black money, the kind of money that India and Indians really have siphoned off into Swiss banks. What is the solution, Mr. Jethmalani? You're beginning a big countrywide movement to try and get back that money, but is there any real sense that pressure could be put to get this money back?
It is perfectly possible, if not the money, at least the culprit's identity.
Correct.
And once you get that evidence, I think people will think twice in the future. Oh, what is the purpose of criminal law after all?
Correct.
To produce a deterrent.
That's right.
You kill a person, but you don't bring back the dead person anyway. But you punish the person who committed the murder. So the fact that you are liable to be prosecuted and punished and sentenced to death is itself a deterrent for many decent people.
Absolutely.
Similarly here, they should know that the law doesn't stand limp when faced with these mighty rich.
In real senses, when you look at government intervention to bring back or bring to justice the people who have siphoned off the money, and indeed to bring back actual detailed information at first step of the people who have siphoned off money, most common people in this country believe that it can't be done because all the rich and powerful have money there. So the system itself will not fight the system.
But see what the Americans did to the same bank.
That's right.
Why have we not done that? Why have the Germans been able to get names? They went out of their way to bribe somebody to get the names. So they have done a great international service.
In India, do you believe that the system so well entrenched by the rich and the powerful actually continuously works in a quagmire to refuse?
It is very unfortunate. That's the state of our character. What can you?
You're also, now that you're not an MP anymore, you're beginning a newspaper. Why are you beginning a newspaper?
Well, indifference of the press generally to many issues.
Right.
And particularly this one, for example, corruption. That's my main provocation. I mean, I'm not going to be the proprietor of a press.
That's right.
But certainly I will be associated with a new newspaper. We intend to make it a Sunday paper, which will touch the issues of the last week, and certainly with great promptitude the previous day's issues. But mainly it will be like an inquirer into truth. I'm loath to say anything about the judiciary because it further downgrades the judiciary.
That's true.
But it is a sad fact that the reputation of the judiciary over the last 50 years has gone down rather than being enhanced. Now
Why is that true?
That itself is saying much, and it is only for the judges themselves to put an end to this decline. And the appointing authorities to be a little more careful. The present procedure of appointment is very, very defective.